welcome to Apex Esports League. I'm JT. Tonight we're live with iRacing for the final round of the 4-round series for the Pagnian Imports Ferrari 488 Championship, and tonight's round for the finale. It's only fitting being a Ferrari challenge, being at Imola. So tonight's session we have 10 minutes of practice. Drivers are just loading to the session at the moment. Weather conditions are partly cloudy. Then we've got 10 minutes of qualifying, and the race is 40 minutes. The fuel is capped at 47%, so we'll see the drivers needing to head into the pits to be able to finish the race. And we've got an ongoing weather variation of 20% with 25% humidity. In the standings, after the third round, we have Sebastian Van Del only just marginally leading the championship with 395 points, with Blake Urquhart following close behind with 371, and Jai Schultz with 363 points, so it's very tight up there. After last week's race, we were at Sebring. We had Sebastian Van Del nearly take another clean sweep, taking pole position, taking the victory, but we saw Blake Urquhart end up with the fastest lap bonus points. So I'm going to jump over onto the track now, and I will get some audio to go along with it once it does load up. I've turned it down so I could actually hear what's going on. So we've got 12 drivers loading into the session at the moment. And if you're joining us for the stream for the first time, don't forget to hit that follow button. We do go live with iRacing on Monday nights and Project Cars 2 on Thursday nights. And this is the final round for our broadcast for the 2021 season. And when we'll have our final round for Project Cars 2 in the GT4s this Thursday. It's going to be an exciting week this week to see those two championships wrap up. And Sebastian Van Del looking to try and take the championship. And coming off a Bathurst 1000 yesterday, teamed up with Blake Urquhart. Oh, he's just had a big spin. With the two taking the win in the race. So big congratulations to Blake and Sebastian on their drive yesterday. We'll make our way. Let's see who we've got on the track. So we've got Philip Buckland. We'll jump on board for a lap with someone in a moment. And Blake just wrapping up a lap at the moment. And we're getting first times coming through. Current quickest time is a 1:46. That's been set by Matt Tesserio. Nathan Peters setting a 1:48.355. Jai has got in a 1:44.557. Damien Cross getting in the 1:44.7. Well, Troy Mortensen just goes for a spin. To Aaron Maguire. Russell Gander, also with Full Throttle Racing. Blake Oakart being our quickest driver in the practice so far. There's just under a minute left before we head over into the qualifying. That's going to be crucial for qualifying position as there's 25 points on the line. Oh, that was a big lot of understeer. That was some hefty damage being put into the wall there. Several drivers currently parked up in the pits. Stephen Banks. We've got Corey Brand also in the KFC car. Our two quickest so far is Blake Oakart and Damien Cross. Blake's improved that time. Oh, and he's just shot straight past there. Blake setting a almost 1:43 flat. That's a very tight time. So we got another driver loading in as well. So we'll be seeing 13 heading into the qualifying. Drivers only got 10 minutes to get that qualifying lap in. And our final qualifying for the year for iRacing. Sebastian Vandel is going to need to try and aim for that pole position to keep that lead on the championship. It's only a very minor lead, especially after costing a big 60 points in incident last week on the final corner. With Blake and Sebastian both racing very hard for the entirety of the race. In those last couple of laps, we're just about side by side at Sebring. So the 60-point penalty, dropping him back to more level ground with the championship standings. He was having a pretty strong lead. We've got Matt Hardigan joining us in the session. Jump on board for a lap with the driver in a moment so we can see the sights around Imola. It is a wonderful track. These cars go superbly well around it. Damien currently trying to look at getting a little bit of temp into those tyres. Stephen Banks is coming out of the pits currently. Hasn't been out for a timed lap. The first time's coming through. Nathan Peters setting a 1:58.7. Corey Brand a 1:59.5. If you're joining us for the stream, don't be shy. Do jump into the chat. Let us know who you're here to cheer on. And there is a bunch of sound effects controls underneath the stream that you can place. That way you can cheer on your favourite drivers during the course of the race, plus some other fun sound effects, so have some fun. We got Bruce Robinson also loading into the session. Third driver to get time on the board is Philip Buckland. He's setting a 2:02. Damien Cross landing a 2:05. Matt Hardigan 2:07. Blake up the MSR cars. Even Blake doing some multitasking, quickly sending through a message in the stream chat before rolling out. So quickest time so far is Jai. He's just landed a 1:43. That was the quickest time we saw in the practice session. That was done by Blake. So there's probably going to be a little bit of competition between the two here. Blake heading out of the pits a little bit late. It took a while for him to load into the session. So we've got 6 drivers that have got a time on the board. We have Jai, Damien, Corey, Matt, Tesserio. Oh, just extra ones come through. Matt Hardigan, Nathan Peters, Philip Buckland, and Sebastian is the next to get one on. He's going to need every point he can get here. He's going to have to try and get that pole position. And even try and work for potentially a clean sweep. If he doesn't, at least if he doesn't have a strong finish, if he can try and push for an extra 10 points for a faster lap, that could potentially save him. So depending on how his race goes, it would be going to be a few different strategies potentially at play. And Bruce Robinson still not quite in the session yet. We should be close to seeing a start of a lap shortly. Trying to, we've got side by side. Blake setting a time, just qualifying a 2-minute for his first timed lap. We won't jump on board here for a full lap around. It's a very fast down pit straight and in through the first corners and into turn 2. Some good S's right up onto that curb. Careful not to bounce the car out too much. Curb to curb here. Lots of throttle on that exit curb. A lot of use of the engine braking there. A little bit slippery as he turns through the hairpin. Very nice sweeping section up here. Quite easy to see that rear slip, especially once you hit that inside curb. This is where a lot of time can be made up getting through this sector here. Getting a golden line that you can carry a lot of speed down the hill and then back up. And a very tricky spot as well, those curbs. Wanting to shift the inertia of that car, making it much trickier to put the power back down as you get over those curbs. A very fast sector down towards the back, coming into the home straight. Trying to turn in as late as possible to be able to use full length of those corners. Running straight out to the exit curb. And hugging that wall down the line. The lap was a 1:46.639. That's qualified him in 7th position. Sebastian Vandel has taken pole, a 1:43.066. I do believe Blake in the practice setting a 1:43 in the 0.08. Blake currently qualifying in 11th position. Jai is in 2nd. There's just under a minute and a half remaining of qualifying. Stephen Banks has qualified into third position. Looks like a change of tyres are going on for that. Damien is currently qualifying in fifth. Blake just qualifying in second. He's just set a 1:43.124 and then brought the car in, so it's going to be done for his qualifying. Sebastian's also in pit lane. Matt's parked up also. Most drivers parked up. So it's going to be last laps at this point. Russell Gander not getting a time on the board. Is in 12th position. Aaron Maguire still out on track, needing it. Lapped in to qualify. Bruce Robinson also joining in a little bit later. And a very fancy car. Looks like some anime of some sort on his car. There we have qualifying complete. So we have Sebastian Vandil taking pole position, setting a 1:42. And Blake Urquhart in position 2, followed by Jai, Stephen Banks, Matt Tesserio, Damien Cross, Corey Brand, Matt Hardigan, Nathan Peters, Philip Buckland, Troy Mortensen, Russell Gander, Aaron Maguire, and Bruce Robinson. So it'll be a small moment as the drivers hit that ready button. A few that are still staying out on track. Matt currently parked up in the pits. Troy getting some extra lap time in. I don't think he's going to have enough time to get this lap finished. It's probably going to wrap the session up before he gets to the finish line. And Maguire's still out there using as much track time as he can. Aaron gets across the line. So he's waiting on Corey Brand to hit that ready button, otherwise it will wait for the timer to cut out. And then we'll be over to the grid ready to start the final race for the 2021 season. And with Sebastian Vandel qualifying pole, it's helped him with his championship lead. So there's 25 points added to his total there. Can he follow that through into the race and score himself a nice 120 points? So the race session is now already and underway. See if we can get a very tidy view for the start. Just waiting on a few drivers to hit that ready button so they can start at the grid. And then we'll see the lights go green for the last time for the year. Will Sebastian be able to pull away very quickly We saw him dominate quite quickly at the start of the previous rounds. He pulled ahead very fast. Over last week, Blake did sit on his tail for the majority of the race. There we go, all drivers have hit ready, so we're about to see the lights go green.
Green, green, green.
And we're underway, and a brilliant start for Sebastian. He's pulled away very nice, however Blake's getting a lot of speed on that outside line. Will Sebastian be able to hold that track position? Oh, sounds like a little bit of rubbing going on down towards the back. A couple of cars spinning off track. Bit of damage, it looks like Bruce Robinson, Matt Hardigan, Nathan Peters. Oh, looks like a tow's been required for Matt Hardigan. It is a very tight sector to try and get through on the first lap. We've got Sebastian Vandel now flying out ahead. We've got Stephen Banks starting to close down on Blake. This could be a benefit to Sebastian. While Blake's a little preoccupied with seeing Stephen in his mirror, Sebastian can use that opportunity to try and pull away. Very different lines. Blake taking a much tighter exit line through that sector. We have Dry drop down into 5th position. He's got Corey Brand starting to close down on him. Blake managing to pull away a little bit from Stephen. Blake now quickly closing that gap down on Sebastian. He's only 7/10 away. Sebastian showing some great pace for that lap. That was a 1:47.4. Next quickest lap was a 1:48, and that was by Blake. It's Nathan Peters in the pits using a fast repair. Matt Hardigan still under tow. Bruce Robinson not getting too much damage by the looks of it and having to pit. He's managed to be able to catch up and he's going for a pass. He gets around Russell Gander. And now starting to close down in on Philip Buckland. Very close. He carried a lot of speed going up the hill. Goes for a nice inside move. Carries plenty of speed to be able to move himself up, so he gains 2 positions. Oh, it's been a tap there. Not sure if it's going to be, I felt there may have to be a redress there. See if the drivers are slowing down at all. He may have actually even spun in front of him. We are on lap 2. Sebastian leads the way, furthering that gap, now doubling his gap from last lap. He's now spacing that out to nearly 1.4 seconds. And Stephen Banks dropping behind Blake Urquhart, and he's got Jai quickly closing in on him. Both Stephen and Jai's last laps very similar, 1:44.2. little bit of tyre squeal from Sebastian as he goes through there. Did look like a little bit of understeer as he was going through. He carried a lot of speed. And they did lose a little bit of time on him. That's going to allow Blake to catch up. Definitely has him in his sights. Especially with last week, Blake coming very close to a win. Having contact made on the final corner. Russell Gander and Philip Buckland still keeping similarly paced to each other. And Matt back out on track after having to unfortunately tow on the first lap. So he's currently in 14th position. Nathan Peters having to get in and deal with some repairs from that first lap incident. Currently running in 13th. Bruce Robinson, who did claw his way back up after that incident, but then getting turned around at the chicanes. A lot of curb there. Blake still teetering around that gap between himself and Sebastian. Extends out to 1.7, back down to 1.6. We did say get to 1.4. We got a battle again for 10th position. Bruce Robinson making his way back up. This is where incident was with him the previous lap. Goes for an inside pass, tucks in, takes that racing line. We have Damien Cross starting to close down on Aaron Maguire, looking to take 7th position. He's quickly closing that gap down. It was about a second away then now to less than a couple of attempts. There's going to be some good fast sectors here to try and make his way around. We still have Sebastian furthering that gap on Blake. He's now pushed it out to 1.8 seconds again. Stephen Banks just going off track, losing a couple of positions. So that's just allowed Corey Brand and Matt Cesario to just go through. He's dropped down in the 6th. Then Aaron Maguire and Damien Cross both closing in on him. Not sure if he's taken some damage. I think it may have just been an off track. Yeah, he's taken some damage, so he's lost that bonnet, so into the pits he goes to get that dealt with. That's probably not going to be too costly. He's going to be able to use that fast repair, and it's a good opportunity to possibly fuel up. It should be enough to be able to top that car up and last out the remainder of the race. So we have seen the drivers get about 35 minutes worth of fuel. And even at Red Bull, seeing Blake Urquhart is plenty of slipstream advantages with some lap traffic to actually conserve fuel and last out without having to pit. You may very well see a few strategies at play here. Stephen Banks been in and out. It's nice 9-second pit stop. So he may have not have actually bothered with fuel at that rate. It looks like Bruce Robinson retired out. And there was another car off track. Looks like one of the KFC cars was off track. I think that was Corey Brand. Looked like it may have actually been contact moments. We might even have a look at what went on here. I don't know if they... Not quite. Didn't appear to be the two of them. I think Vol's just going off a little bit on track simultaneously at the same time. So now see Bruce Robinson has dropped down to the 14th position after retiring. Bruce having a lot of bad luck. And look like just before retiring, needing to tow the car. Sebastian has a solid lead on the race now. He's led for 6 laps. He's got 3.1 seconds over Blake Urquhart. And for the standings for the championship, Sebastian is leading, followed by Blake Urquhart and Jai. And the three are currently following suit in the race at the moment. To have Corey Brand up into 4th position. Manchester currently in 5th. We have Aaron Maguire in 6th position and Damien Cross in 7th. And the two have been keeping similarly paced for quite a while. Damien's been trying to close that gap in. And then Matt starts to get away from him. I'm not sure if that looks like a little bit of rear right damage to Damien's car. Could just be the paintwork. It does look like there's been some contact to that back right. See Damien really trying to close that gap down. Aaron slightly pulls away out of the corner. Side with Damien Cross. A lot of late break there. Really close that gap in. Aaron managing to pull away. Sebastian Vandel still leading the race. Looks like he's got another message on the tail of the car. Not quite. Oh, it's on the same. Thanks, JT, for an awesome year. Thanks very much, Sebastian. That's great. Much appreciated for that lovely message on the side and the back of his car. And it's been my pleasure to have you all aboard. It's been a great year of racing. If you do want to get involved in our races, do look us up on iRacing. You can find all the links to be able to join in from our social media links. So you can go to fb.com/Apex Esports League. It has all the links to be able to go off onto our direct page for iRacing. As you will need to join the league for it. Doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't cost you anything to participate in the races. So we welcome drivers of all skill levels to come aboard. It's a great bunch of guys to get out on track with. I do look forward during the break getting out on track with them for some casual fun nights. So we won't be broadcasting until the back end of January. And we will be looking at hosting a Bathurst 1000 in the new year as well. It's looking like it'll probably be early February. We've got some lap traffic the drivers are starting to contend with now. So we're on lap 9. Current standings, we have Sebastian Vandel leading the way. He's our championship leader. He's now got a 3.6 second lead over Blake Urquhart. Make our way through the standings. We have Matt Hardigan running in 13th. Currently 1 lap down. Oh, Nathan Peters just gone off. He's in 12th position. Damon Cross currently in 11th, but he has just been in and pit. So he's gotten some fuel. A 13.9 second stop. In a couple of minutes when we reach the halfway point. Philip Buckland currently in 10th. Stephen Banks in 9th. He has been in and pit. That was to tend to some damage quite early on. It was around 10 minutes into the race that we saw him do that. So it's like, could be a possibility that he may have to head in and get some fuel to get through the rest of the race. He had only a very quick stop. Corey Brand currently in, getting some fuel at the moment. There's a 14.3 second stop. He's in 6th position. He had 11 seconds between him and Troy. Troy and Russell Gander both just come out through in front of him. Oh, and Stephen Banks in the background there, blinking out. He vanished out from that corner completely. Corey lets Stephen move on up through. Corey coming fresh out of the pits. So Corey in 9th, Stephen Banks in 8th position. Russell, oh, slippery there for Russell. He's gone off camera. It's like he hasn't gone into a spin. He's only just lost those positions. They could have gone bad. Managed to get that car back under control and onto the track. Troy Mortensen in 6th position. He's got Stephen Banks quickly closing down on him. Stephen's probably going to be looking to try and make a pass here. Troy hasn't been in and pit. We have just reached the halfway mark. Stephen heads into the pit just now. Stephen was contemplating going for an outside move there, but not required, as Troy peeled off into the pits. He's currently fueling up. So we have Aaron Maguire in 5th position. Tesserio in 4th. He's having a great run here. He will need to head into the pits. His fastest lap is a 1:45.855. He's got about an 8-second gap between himself and Aaron. He's got a little while to catch up to Blake, but Blake in the pits now, getting the fuel. Jai staying out on track, so moves up into position 2. Very quick release for Blake. 13.7 seconds done and dusted for some fuel. There's 18.5 minutes remaining. Sebastian has a huge lead now, 17.1 seconds separating. That's probably going to be a very safe gap. As there's 42 seconds between himself and Blake now, after him coming back on track from the fuel stop. Sebastian's pit can be very quick. He should be in and out in time and come back out in front of Blake. He still has a huge gap on Jai, but Jai will also need to head into the pits for fuel. And these cars are probably going to be starting to get a little bit light. With the drivers leading out front, there's not going to be too much opportunity to try and conserve by tucking in behind anyone. A fair bit of spacing going on between most now. Blake looking to make his way back up towards the front. Matt peels off for his fuel stop. Blake not having to try and make a move. He's still 42.8 seconds behind the race lead. He's got 25 seconds between himself and Jai. If Jai can still keep some very quick laps out there, he could potentially see himself come back out just about side by side with Blake. But he's going to probably have to try and decide whether he pits in very soon. His lap times seem to be dropping off a little bit. So with that car getting a little bit lighter, it's going to be quite flighty in the rear. And no sign of slowing down Sebastian. His previous lap at 1:43.4. So we're seeing qualifying times being done here. And he's got some traffic to contend with. Blue flags will be shown here. That's sure whose car that was. It said it was in position 9, but I don't think it was. We have Stephen Banks managing to get up into 4th position after having that off and taking the damage to the front. It was a 9-second pit, so it may have only just been a in and out with the fast repair. So it means he could be still needing to head in for some fuel. And if that is the case, he's going to lose out a couple of positions there for sure. The driver's yet to head in and pit is Russell Gander. Philip Buckland also not having pit yet. There's just over 14 minutes remaining now. We're on that 14, in comes Sebastian. Will Jai also follow in? There's about a second slow. He stays out on track, so it's going to give him the lead to the race. He's going to have to absolutely fly out there to try and push that gap out for hope of being able to hold off Sebastian. With Sebastian coming out, he could potentially get stuck behind some other traffic. It could slow him down. Sebastian's pit 1 second slower than Blake. So 14.7 seconds in the pits. So will we see Jai head into the pits this lap? His lap times are dropping off a little bit more. He's lost another second on that previous lap. It's probably best to get that car in, get a little bit more weight into it. Russell Gander in the pits now. A very quick stop, 9.8. So that's going to be possibly leaving it very lean with fuel. He comes back out on track just ahead of Troy Mortensen. And there's Jai in the pits now. So Sebastian retakes that lead. He's got 6.9 seconds ahead of Blake. Blake's made up some massive time over the course of those last few laps. Before pitting, I think he was getting out to about the 16-second gap. So he's now got that down to 7.1 seconds. And with just under 11 minutes remaining of the race. He could definitely round that in, especially being out there with some more warmth in than tyres than Sebastian. Could potentially dial it in for a couple of laps. He may be running just slightly bit lighter than Sebastian to really close that gap. into the pits now. Only driver not to head in. So I've been noticing that usually around the 30-minute mark is where we see the cars start to get very light and almost out of the fuel. Stephen Banks currently in 5th position. He did get in and pit very early on. Will we see him pit in the next couple of laps? We have Damon Cross in position 6. He's going to have 21-second gap between himself and Matt Tesserio. He's got about 10 seconds in between himself and Stephen Banks. Blake's still sitting around that 7.5-second mark. And with just 9 minutes remaining, the MSR drivers are looking good for a 1-2-3 finish. They have lined up the finishes before. On the lines, we'll probably see the same thing. The guys have had a solid drive this series. And it could be another championship under the belt for Sebastian. Sebastian's starting to catch up to Nathan Peters. Blue flag will be shown here. Sebastian will have to try and get around as quickly as possible. Doesn't want to get held up too much. He's got Blake trying to close that gap down in on him. Moves over. Nice and easily letting Sebastian through. Spectacular racecraft and sportsmanship being shown there. Matt Hardigan currently in 12th position. I think that's Aaron Maguire's car just up ahead. We have Philip Buckland running in 11th. Troy Mortensen in 10th position. Russell Gander in 9th. Aaron Maguire running in 8th position. Actually, it's Matt's car that was just ahead. It's Matt Cesario in 7th. Damien Cross in 6th position. Corey Brand in 5th. He's only a couple of seconds away from Stephen Banks. It will be interesting just to see what happens with Stephen over these next few laps. He's been in for the quickest pit stop out of all drivers. A quick 9 seconds. That was done very early on to tend to the front end damage. That was to use that fast repair. I'm not sure if it would have been enough time to be able to grab a splash of fuel. But he stays out on track. We have Jai Schultz running in 3rd position. Nice safety net between him and Stephen. 35.5 seconds separating the two. Blake Oakart just getting around Nathan Peters from the looks of it. Not being held up, but he is dropping away from Sebastian. He's putting that gap back out over Blake. He's pushed that lead out to 8.8 seconds. So can we see Sebastian make a clean sweep in the final round? He's currently got the fastest lap of the race. It's a 1:42.434. So it's quicker than qualifying times now. His previous lap was a 1:43.292. Sebastian is on fire tonight at Imola. He has absolutely dominated this Ferrari 488. He will jump on board with our race leader, Sebastian Vandel. He's on lap 20. He's led for 19 laps. Only to have Jai take one lead lap after Sebastian headed into the pits. He's dialed in and very focused. He's had very consistent laps. It's a little bit slippery as he comes through those chicanes. He didn't swap out tyres, so they could be very well pushing the limits of the tyres. A little bit slippery again. Sebastian is not holding back whatsoever. It's going to be a very quick lap time. It's a 1:43.4. He's well and truly leading over Blake again. 9.6 seconds now, the difference. Almost 2.5 minutes remaining. So it's only going to be a couple of laps remaining to the race now. We're on lap 21. With 9.6 seconds separating Sebastian and Blake. Sebastian can afford to slow those lap times off a little bit. He's been at least a second quicker than Blake on each lap around. Being able to push that lead out by 3 seconds over those last 3 laps. Jai now coming up to some lap traffic as well. Stephen Banks has just gone in and pit. He's got some fuel. It was a 5.8 second stop. So that saw him drop down into position 6. Damien Cross getting him. Will Seals in pit lane. Seals leaving it very fine for fuel. It's very unfortunate for Stephen to have to head in for that stop early on in the race. Especially for our other drivers in that turn 1 incident. There's 50 seconds remaining now. That gap has dropped off a little bit. But he's probably going to be slowing down. They're probably on the radio to each other. They're slowing down to line up to finish the race. And if he's slow enough to not actually cross the line in time, we'll actually see this as being the last lap. the time race. We'll base it based on the length of time we have on the server. So we get an hour. So I'll change to white flag now. This is the final lap, and Sebastian having some fun, waiting for Blake. So they got a massive lead over the remaining. They're probably going to wait for Jai to try and catch up as well. So we've got Corey Brand in 4th position. He's 53 seconds behind Jai Schultz. So it'll give the guys enough time to line up. And Sebastian having a lot of fun throwing that car out. He's going to have to be cautious. He doesn't want to end up bidding the car right at the end. That would be rather unfortunate. They're waiting for Jai to catch up. Even another MSR. They're all going to cross to the line. Here it is. Oh, Blake was almost going to steal it from him there. Oh, look, it's very tight. There we have Sebastian crossing the line, taking the win. It looks like a clean sweep. So he's very impressed with that. Blake Urquhart taking 2nd position, showing he's in 8th position for some strange reason. Not sure what went on right at the end there. Some post-race penalty that's thrown in or something. But some victory burnouts going there, and I think they've just slammed into Troy. And Corey Brand should be crossing in 4th position. Results a little bit skewed with the crossing there. And Stephen Banks crosses in 5th position. Aaron Maguire in 6th. Matt Serio in 7th. I think there was a position change right at the end there. And all the drivers finishing up, so bring up the results now. And that victory burnout there with Sebastian. I know those results are looking fine there, so no post-race penalties. So we have the conclusion for the final series for 2021. Sebastian Vandel takes a clean sweep in the final round of the Pagnian Imports Ferrari 488 Championship, taking the top of the podium. Yet again, congratulations to Sebastian. Then also on the podium is Blake Urquhart in position 2 and Jai Schultz in position 3. In the rest of the standings, we have Corey Brandt, Damien Cross, Stephen Banks, Aaron Maguire, Matt Tesserio, Troy Mortensen, Philip Buckland, Matt Hardigan, Nathan Peters, Russell Gander, and Bruce Robinson. So, jump over and see if the guys have remembered to get into the Discord. So we'll meet them. We've got Jai in here. Sebastian. Blake, we've remembered to all get in. They're not too occupied doing burnout, so we'll cross over now. Congratulations, guys. Well, too sure whether you'd be too occupied in doing victory burnouts at the end there. It's a nice 1-2-3 finish yet again.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It was a good race, and congratulations to Seb for winning the championship, and same to Jai, and same to Troy for a good race as always. So hopefully come back next season, be strong as always.
Yeah, it's a great outcome. Congratulations. And it's a great drive tonight, Sebastian. So another clean sweep. So you're also taking the fastest lap. So setting a 1:42.
Yeah, it was a good lap on some new tyres at the start of the race. And yeah, I don't know how I did that on a race setup, but I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. You're just in those last few laps, setting almost qualifying laps as well. So it was great to see. you're starting to put that gap back over Blake.
Yeah, I was starting to take it easy for a bit halfway through the race and try and catch it a bit after the pit stop, so I put the foot down again.
Yeah, congratulations, mate, and great win on the championship. And also congratulations, Jai, on the podium again. That should see, I think,
cheers,
probably
mate.
second or third for the championship. It's going to be pretty tight to see between you and Blake.
Yeah, I think Blake got me there. I know it was about 8 points before the race, so a few more point gap, but happy with third.
Yeah, great racing. So it's good to see us out there on Imola Flats. It's going to be exciting seeing us coming into the Skip Barbers next year.
Skip Barber should be pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely, especially with a great prize on the line as well. So you could be looking at trying to get yourselves a Logitech G Pro X wireless headset. So it'll be a much
I'm
greater
happy
prize.
days.
I need a new headset.
I've already got one, so if I win, I can just give it to Seb.
No,
As always, JT, thanks for the great season again, and yeah, we'll be back next season.
yeah, no worries, and thanks very much for that lovely message on your car too, Sebastian.
Yeah, all good. Just wanted to say thank you for putting the series on this year, and yeah, it's gotten me into league racing, and I really appreciate it.
That's great to hear. My pleasure. And looking forward to 2022.
Sure am.
Good luck. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
JT.
Mate.
There we have our podium finishers. Sebastian Van Dell taking the victory. Blake Urquhart in position 2 and Giles Schultz in position 3. And I'm pretty sure that will be the championship standings as well. So if you haven't done so already, can go to our Facebook page. That's where we post up the results and standings for the races, as well as any incident reports that you can read up and see what went on during the course of those incidents. And then there's also links to be able to get involved. So if you do want to head over and get involved in our iRacing, there is, wrong screen there, is a great opportunity to win a prize for our opening series in 2022. We're using the Skip Barber Formula 2000s. So it's the Pagnian Imports Skip Barber Cup. It's a 5-round series. It is starting on Monday, 24th of January at 7:30, and it is live broadcast. And there is a fantastic prize on the line provided by the series sponsor Logitech G, and that is the Logitech G Pro X wireless gaming headset. So if you want to try and win yourself one of those, do head over and join up with us on our iRacing League, and you can enter in for the opportunity to win that. So it's going to be a great prize on offer. And then, of course, it'll be an excellent first race, with round 1 being at Brands Hatch Circuit GP in the Skippies. It's going to be some fantastic racing. So thanks for tuning in. And don't forget, we do have Project Cars 2 finishing up on Thursday nights. If you haven't hit the follow button yet, do so you can see the final round for that. And there's going to be plenty of racing action coming into 2022. And thanks for a great 2021 on iRacing. And thanks for tuning in.